All right, page 67. Left off at the Snatcher. Now, in the romance of Taliesin, Gwyon's enemy Cardoin, or Cerdowin, was a white sow goddess too, according to Dr. McCullough, who, in his well-documented Religion of the Ancient Celts, quotes Geoffrey of Monmouth and the French Celtologist Thomas in evidence and records that she was also described by Welsh bards as a grain goddess. He equates her with the sow Demeter mentioned above. Her name is composed of the words Sered and Wen. Wen means white, and Sered in Irish and Welsh means gain, and also the inspired arts, especially poetry, like the Greek words surdos and surdia, from which derives the Latin surdo, a craftsman. In general, the weasel, a favorite disguise of Thessalian witches, was called surdo, usually translated the artful one, and surdo, an ancient word for uncertain origin, is the Spanish for pig. Pausanias makes Surdo the wife of the Argive cult hero Phorenius, the inventor of fire and brother of Io and Argos, Pantipus, who will be identified in chapter 10 with Bran. The famous Sardana harvest dance of the Spanish Pyrenees was perhaps first performed in honor of this goddess, who has given her name to the best corn land in the region, the Valley of Sardana, dominated by the town of Pug-Surda, or Surdo's Hill. The syllable surd or curd, it might be curd, I don't know, figures in Iberian royal names, the best known of which is Livius Cerdabilius, Cerdabilis, the aged chieftain who intervened in a dispute between Romans and the Iberian city of Castulo. Cerdowin is clearly the white sow, the barley goddess, the white lady of death and inspiration, is in fact Albina or Alfito, the barley goddess who gave her name to Britain. Little Gwion had every reason to fear her. It was a great mistake on his part to try to conceal himself in a heap of grain on her own threshing floor. The Latins worshipped the white goddess as Cardia, and Ovid tells a muddled story about her in his Fasti, connecting her with the word cardo, or hinge. He says that she was the mistress of Janus, the two-headed god of doors, and of the first month of the year, and had charge over door hinges. She also protected infants against witches disguised as formidable night birds who snatched children from their cradles and sucked their blood. He says that she exercised this power first at Alba, the White City, which was colonized by immigrants from the Peloponnese at the time of the Great Dispersal, and from which Rome was colonized, and that her principal prophylactic instrument was the hawthorn. Ovid's story is inside out. Cardia was Alfito, the white goddess who destroyed children after disguising herself in bird or beast form, and the hawthorn, which was sacred to her, might not be introduced into a house lest she destroyed the children inside. It was Janus, the stout guardian of the oak door, who kept out Cardia and her witches, for Janus was really the oak goddess Dianus, who was incarnate in the king of Rome, afterwards in the Flamen Dallas. The Flamen Dallas, his spiritual successor. And his wife Janna was Dion, the goddess of the woods and of the moon. Janus and Janna were in fact a rustic form of Jupiter and Juno. The reduplicated P in Jupiter represents an elided noun, and he was June Pater, Father Dianus. It's all right, and it's kind of important, but I'm sorry. But before Janus or Dianus or Jupiter married Janna or Diana or Juno and put her under subjection, He was her son, and she was the white goddess Cardia. And though he became the door, the national guardian, she became the hinge which connected him with the doorpost. The importance of this relationship will be explained in Chapter 10. Good. Cardio, the hinge, is the same word as surdo or curdo. I'm not sure. I'm going to say curdo. Craftsman. All right, let's go Cardo. In Irish myth, the god of craftsmen who specialized in hinges, locks, and rivets was called Credni, the craftsman who originally claimed the goddess Curdo or Cardia as his patroness. Thus, as Janus's mistress, Cardia was given the task of keeping from the door the nursery bogey, who in matriarchal times was her own august self, who propitiated at Roman weddings with torches of hawthorn. Ovid says of Cardia, apparently quoting a religious formula, her power is to open what is shut, to shut what is open. Ovid identifies Cardia with the goddess Carnia, who had a feast at Rome on June 1st when pig's flesh and beans were offered to her. This is helpful insofar as it connects the white goddess with pigs, though the Roman explanation that Carnia was so called quod carnem offerent because they offer her flesh is nonsense. Moreover, as has already been noted in the Cadgadu context, beans were used in classical times as a homeopathic charm against witches and scepters. One put a bean in one's mouth and spat it at the viciant. And at the Roman feast of the Lemuria, each householder threw black beans behind his back for the lemurs, or ghosts, saying, "With these I redeem myself and my family." The Pythagorean mystics, who derived their doctrine from Pelagian sources, were bound by a strong taboo against the eating of beans and quoted a verse attributed to Orpheus to the effect that to eat beans was to eat one's parents' heads. The flower of the bean is white, and it blooms at the same season as the hawthorn. The bean is the white goddess's, hence its connection with the Scottish witch cult. In primitive times, only her priestesses might either plant or cook it. The men of Phoenicius in Arcadia had a tradition that the goddess Demeter, coming there in her wanderings, gave them permission to plant all grains and pulses except only beans. It seems then that the reason for the Orphic taboo was that the bean grows spirally up its prop, portending resurrection, and that ghosts contrive to be reborn as humans by entering into beans. Pliny mentions this and being eaten by women. Thus, for a man to eat a bean might be an impious frustration of his dead parents' designs. Beans were tossed to ghosts by Roman householders at the Lemuria to give them a chance of rebirth, and offered to the goddess Carnia at her festival because she held the keys of the underworld. Carnia is generally identified with Roman goddess Carne, who was really Carnea, the harsh or stony one, a Greek surname of the goddess Artemis, whose hostility to children had constantly to be appeased. Carnea owned a hill temple near Delphi in which the office of priest was always held by a boy, 4 or 5 year term, and a cypress grove, the Craneum, just outside Corinth, where Bellerophon had a hero shrine. Carne means rock and is etymologically connected with the Gaelic cairn, which has come to mean a pile of stones erected on a mountaintop. I write of her as the white goddess because white is her principal color, the color of the first member of her moon trinity. But when Sudius, the Byzantine records that Io was a cow, when Sudius, the Byzantine, records that Io was a cow that changed her color from white to rose and then black to black, he means that the new moon is the white goddess of birth and growth, the full moon the red goddess of love and battle. the old moon, the black goddess of death and divination. Pseudocys's myth is supported by Hyginus's fable of a heifer calf born to Minos and Pasiphae, which changed its colors thrice daily in the same way. In response to a challenge from an oracle, one Polydorus, son of Coranus, correctly compared it to a mulberry, a fruit sacred to the triple goddess. The three standing stones thrown down from Moultrie Hill near Dwagoffachi in Wales in the iconoclastic 17th century may well have represented the Io Trinity. One was white, one red, one dark blue, and they were known as the Three Women. The local monkish legend was that three women dressed in those colors were petrified as a punishment for winnowing corn on a Sunday. The most comprehensive and inspired account of the goddess in all ancient literature is contained in Apuleius's Golden Ass, where Lucius invokes her from the depth of misery and spiritual degradation, and she appears in answer to his plea. Incidentally, it suggests that the goddess was once worshipped at Moultrie in her triple capacity of white razor, red reaper, and dark winnower of grain. The translation is by William Adlington, 1566. About the first watch of the night, when I had slept my first sleep, I awaked with sudden fear and saw the moon shining bright as when she is at the full and seeming as though she leaped out of the sea. Then I thought with myself that this was the most secret time when the goddess had most puissance and force, considering that all human things be governed by her providence, and that not only all beasts private and tame, wild and savage, be made strong by the governance of her light and Godhead, but also things inanimate and without life. And I consider that all bodies in the heavens, the earth, the seas, be by her increasing motions increased, and by her diminishing motions diminished. Then, as weary of all my cruel fortune and calamity, I found good hope and sovereign remedy, though it were very late to be delivered from my misery by invocation and prayer to the excellent beauty of this powerful goddess. Wherefore, shaking off my drowsy sleep, I arose with a joyful face, and moved by a great affection to purify myself, I plunged my head 7 times into the water of the sea, which number 7 is conveniable and agreeable to holy and divine things, as the worthy and sage philosopher Pythagoras hath declared. Then very lively and joyfully, though with a weeping countenance, I made this oration to the puissant goddess. O blessed goddess, O blessed queen of heaven, whether thou be the Dame Ceres, which art the original and motherly source of all fruitful things on the earth, who after the finding of thy daughter Proserpine, through the great joy which thou didst presently conceive, didst utterly take away and abolish the food of them of old time, the acorn, and maddest the barren and unfruitful ground of Eleusis to be plowed and sown, and now givest men a more better and milder food, or whether thou be the celestial Venus, who at the beginning of the world didst couple together male and female with an endangered love, and didst so make an eternal propagation of humankind, being now worshipped within the temples of the isle Paphos, or whether thou be the sister of the god Phobos, who hast saved so many people by lightening and lessening with thy medicines the pangs of travail, and art now adored at the sacred places of Ephesus, or whether thou be called terrible Proserpine, by reason of the deadly howlings which thou yieldest, that hast power with triple face to stop and put away the invasion of hags and ghosts which appear unto men, and to keep them down in the closures of the earth, which thou dost wander in sundry groves, and art worshipped in divers manners, thou which thou illuminate all the cities of the earth by thy feminine light, thou which nourishest all the seeds of the world by thy damp heat, giving thy changing light according to the wanderings near or far of the sun, by whatsoever name or fashion or shape it is lawful to call upon thee. I pray thee to end my great travail and misery, and raise up my fallen hopes, and deliver me from the wretched fortune which so long time pursued me. Grant peace and rest, if it please thee, to my adversaries, for I have endured enough labor and peril. When I had ended this oration, discovering my plants to the goddess, I fortuned to fall again asleep upon the same bed, and by, for mine eyes were but newly closed, appeared to me from the midst of the sea a divine and venerable face, worshipped even of the gods themselves. Then, little by little, I seemed to see the whole figure of her body bright and mounting out of the sea and standing before me. Wherefore, I propose to describe her divine semblance, if the poverty of my human speech will suffer me, or the divine power give me a power of eloquence rich enough to express it. Do I want to express it? No, I'll express it next time.